The debates have gone on for weeks. Job and his 3 friends have circled the same arguments over and over. The friends insist Job must have sinned. Job insists he doesn't deserve this suffering. Neither side is budging. The conversations have become repetitive, exhausting, and pointless. Then a young man named Elihu, who has been listening to everything, can't take it anymore. He stands up, and he's furious. I am young, and you are old. That is why I held back and did not share my opinions with you. I thought age should speak. Advanced years should teach wisdom. But it is the spirit in a person, the breath of the Almighty, that gives them understanding. Elihu is frustrated with all of them, Job for complaining, the friends for their simplistic answers. But his words don't really change anything. He's just another voice in the noise, and then something shifts. The sky darkens. A storm begins to build. Wind whips across the land. The temperature drops. And out of the storm, a voice speaks, not in a whisper, not in a vision, but in thunder. Direct, powerful, undeniable. Who is this that obscures my plans with words without knowledge? Brace yourself like a man. I'll question you, and you shall answer me. It's God. Finally, after all this silence, after Job's desperate pleas, after his friends' endless speeches, God speaks. Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Tell me if you understand. Who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know. Who stretched a measuring line across it? On what were its footings set? Or who laid its cornerstone while the morning stars sang together and all the angels shouted for joy? God isn't answering Job's questions directly. God is asking different questions, bigger questions. And the message is profound. You don't know what you think you know. You can't see what you think you can see. Have you journeyed to the springs of the sea or walked in the recesses of the deep? Have the gates of death been shown to you? Have you seen the gates of the deepest darkness? Have you comprehended the vast expanses of the earth? God continues describing the complexity of creation, the weather systems, the animals, the stars, the intricacy of everything. And with each description, the implication grows. You, Job, are incredibly small in this vast universe. You thought you understood how things work, thought you could figure out why suffering happens. But look at what you don't understand. Look at how much is beyond your comprehension. Then God gets specific. Do you hunt the prey for the lioness and satisfy the hunger of the lions? Provides food for the raven when it's young? Cry out to God and wander about for lack of food? God is describing his care for creation, not just the impressive parts, but the common parts, the parts nobody pays attention to. God feeds the ravens. God cares for the creatures that don't have status or importance. God's concern isn't limited to important people or worthy causes. Then God asks Job a crucial question. Do you know when the mountain goats give birth? Do you watch when the doe bears her fawn? Do you count the months till they bear? Do you know the time they give birth? They crouch down and bring forth their young. Their labor pains are ended. Their young thrive and grow strong in the wilds. They leave and do not return. The message here is almost tender. God knows the details. God pays attention. God cares about birth, growth, survival even, for animals that nobody cares about. Then God shifts tone again, almost taunting. Do you give the horse its strength or clothe its neck with a flowing mane? Do you make it leap like a locust, striking terror with its proud snorting? It paws fiercely, rejoicing in its strength, and charges into the fray. It laughs at fear, afraid of nothing. It does not shy away from the sword. There's something almost playful here. God is describing the majesty of creation. There's an underlying message. I created these things, not for any practical purpose, but for beauty, for glory, for the sheer joy of creation. Some things I made don't serve you at all. God continues this way for chapter after chapter, describing the ostrich that leaves its eggs on the ground with no concern. For their fate, describing the eagle soaring high in the sky, describing the hippopotamus and the leviathan, massive creatures that are powerful and untamable. And with every description, God is saying the same thing. Your suffering doesn't make sense to you because you're retrying to understand it from a human perspective. You think everything should serve a purpose. You think everything should be fair and just. But the universe doesn't revolve around you. The universe is far more complex, far more mysterious, far more beautiful and terrible than you can comprehend. Finally, Job understands, not in his mind, but in his spirit. He responds, I know that you can do all things. No purpose of yours can be thwarted. You asked, who is this that obscures my plans without knowledge? Surely I spoke of things I did not understand, things too wonderful for me to know. You said, listen now, and I will speak. I will question you, and you shall answer me. My ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you. Therefore I despise myself, and repent in dust and ashes. Job isn't repenting for sin. He's repenting for arrogance, for thinking he could figure God out, for thinking the universe revolved around him, for thinking he deserved answers on his terms. He's not despising himself for being wicked. He's despairing over his own smallness in the face of cosmic mystery, and in that moment of surrender, everything shifts. God then turns to the three friends. I am angry with you and your two friends, because you have not spoken of me what is right, as my servant Job has. Wait, what? God is angry at the friends, not at Job. The friends who were so confident in their understanding, who had all the answers, who were so sure they knew how God operated, they got it wrong. Job, who complained and questioned and demanded answers, who refused to admit to sins he didn't commit, Job spoke what is right. God tells them, you are to take 7 bulls and 7 rams and go to my servant Job and sacrifice a burnt offering for yourselves. My servant Job will pray for you, and I will accept his prayer and not deal with you according to your folly. The friends have to go to Job the man. They came to comfort and ended up condemning and asked for his prayers. Job has to pray for forgiveness on their behalf. The humbling is complete. Then comes the restoration. The Lord restored his fortunes and gave him twice as much as he had before. All his brothers and sisters and everyone who had known him before came and ate with him in his house. They comforted him and consoled him over all the trouble the Lord had brought on him. And each one gave him a piece of silver and a gold ring. Job is restored not just to his previous condition, but doubled. He's given new wealth, new livestock, new property. But more than that, he's given something he lost: community, belonging, the knowledge that he's not alone. Job also had 7 sons and 3 daughters. The first daughter he named Jemimah, the second Keziah, and the third Karn-Happuch. Nowhere in all the land were there found women as beautiful as Job's daughters. And their father granted them an inheritance, along with their brothers. New children, a new family. Not replacing the ones he lost, but healing the wound that their loss created. After this, Job lived 140 years. He saw his children, and their children, and their children's children, now. And so he died, old and full of years. Job's story ends not with victory, but with peace. Not with answers, but with acceptance. Not with understanding why he suffered, but with understanding that his suffering didn't define him. The lesson Job's story teaches us is counterintuitive. It's not about punishing sin or rewarding righteousness in simple, transactional ways. It's about faith that survives not knowing. It's about holding on to God even when God seems absent. It's about resisting the easy answers that people offer when you're suffering. Eliphaz's logical explanations, they felt true, but they were wrong. Bildad's appeals to tradition, they felt safe, but they were wrong. Zophar's moral certainty, it felt righteous, but it was wrong. Job's willingness to question, to suffer, to hold on to faith without understanding that was right. The universe is bigger than our explanations. God is bigger than our logic. And sometimes the deepest faith isn't found in confidence and certainty. It's found in the willingness to say, I don't understand, but I still believe. It's found in the courage to question without losing faith. It's found in the ability to suffer without becoming bitter, to be confused without becoming faithless. Job's story doesn't answer the question of why innocent people suffer, but it answers something even more important: how to survive suffering with your faith, your integrity, and your humanity intact.